We continue now at the top of Daf Chav Chesam and Aleph Meseches Megillah. This is Megillah Daf 28a. The students asked Rabbi Preda, how does he merit to live a long life? And so now he's listing the various things he's done. V'lo beirachti lifnei kohen. I never said a bracha in front of a kohen. Rashi over here says V'lo beirachti b'suuda lifnei kohen. I never made a bracha when there was a kohen there to make the bracha to lead. Diomar Mar, like the master said, V'kidashto l'chol davar shebekdusha liftoach rishon l'varich rishon. It says V'kidashto, the kohanim are holy. That means for all davar shebekdusha they should go first and they should make the bracha first. So I never went before a kohen. And also I never ate from an animal where the matanos weren't taken off properly to be given to the kohen. As Rashi over here says, matnoseh hazroa v'halochayayim v'hakeva. Those are the parts of the animal that are given to the kohanim. Diyomar Rabbi Yitzchak Amar Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yitzchak said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Aser lechol mi behema shelo hormu matanoseh. It's aser to eat from an animal if you didn't take off the proper matanos. V'yamar Rabbi Yitzchak, and Rabbi Yitzchak says, Kol ha'ochel mi behema shelo hormu matanoseh. Anyone who eats from an animal which the proper matanos weren't taken off, ki'ilu ochel tevolim. It's the same thing as eating tevel. Let's say you eat from grain that you didn't take off the proper shumas and meisers. It's the same idea. But the Gemara says, V'les hilchas hakavase, the halach is not like him in this regard. V'lo beirachti lifnei kohen. Then he said, I never made a bracha in front of a kohen. L'meimra demal yusi. Do you mean to say that this is a good thing? V'yomer Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, Kol talmid chacham shemevarich lefanav afilu kohen gadol ha'ma'aretz. If you have a talmid chacham and a kohen gadol makes the bracha before him, if that kohen gadol is an ha'ma'aretz, and even if it's a kohen gadol, not just a regular kohen, but if he's an ha'ma'aretz, also talmid chacham chayiv misa. That talmid chacham is chayiv misa. Like the pasuk says, "Kol mesanai yahavu mavas, al tikrim mesanai ela masniai," means to say anyone who causes people to hate me. As Rashi over here says, "Masniai shegormin livnei adam lisanoso." What's happening over here is if this Talmud Chacham is allowing the Kohen Amaretz to go in front of him, he's actually causing people to hate him and to hate Talmidei Chachamim. Sha'roa Talmud Chacham shafel lifnei Amaretz. If people are going to see that a Talmud Chacham is lower than an Amaretz, Omerei nachas ruach b'Torah, they're going to say there's nothing pleasant about learning Torah. And so the Gemara continues, Ki ko'amar ihu b'shav, and no, what he was talking about was when he said he never made a bracha in front of a Kohen, that meant if the Kohen was equal to him in terms of scholarship, in terms of being a Talmud Chacham, so then he always allowed the Kohen to go first. And the Gemara continues, Shalu Talmidav es Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakona, the Talmidim asked Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakona, B'ameha rachta yomim, how did you merit to live a long life? Amar lahem, he said to them, Yomai lo nischabadeti beklon chaverai. In all of my life, I never took honor or glory when my friend was in a situation where he was disgraced. V'lo alsal mitasi kilalas chaverai. On my bed, I never had a curse of my friend. That will be explained. And he continues, Vatron b'mamoni ha'yisi, I was open-handed with my money. And now the Gemara explains all these items. Lo nischabadeti beklon chaverai. What does it mean that I never took honor when my friend was disgraced? Ki had Rav Huna, it's like the story with Rav Huna, Dori Mora Kasve, he was carrying a bundle, a load on his shoulders. Also Rav Chana bar Chaniloi v'kadari minei. And Rav Chana bar Chaniloi came and he wanted to carry it instead of him. Amar lei, so he said to him, Yiragilis the Doris b'masech Dori. If it's normal for you to carry a load like this in your city, then I'll allow you to carry for me. V'lo, but if not, I don't want to get honor out of your embarrassment. So if you're going to embarrass yourself by carrying this, something you wouldn't normally carry, I don't want to take honor from you in that fashion. I'd rather carry it myself. It never came up on my bed, the curse of my friend. What does that mean? It's like the story with Mar Zutra. When he would go to bed, Omar, he said as follows, I forgive anybody who caused me any pain today. In other words, the point is when he went to bed, he made sure to forgive anyone who did him wrong. And the Gemara continues, Vatron b'mamoni ha'yisi, I was open-handed with my money. What does that mean? Diomar Mar, as the master said, Iyov vatron b'mamone have. Iyov was open with his money. Sheyameniach pruta lechenvani mimamone, because let's say there was some change that the storekeeper, the shopkeeper owed him, he would leave the pruta with the chenvani. He wasn't demanding of every single penny. And the Gemara continues, Shal Rabbi Akiva as Rabbi Nechunya HaGadol. Rabbi Akiva asked Rabbi Nechunya HaGadol, B'ameha rachta yomim, how did you merit to have a long life? Asu gavzi v'kamachule. So his servants came and they started hitting him. Rashi over here says, Gavzi sarisun hayu avodim misharsimo. So these were his servants, his attendants, v'kamachule Rabbi Akiva. They hit Rabbi Akiva for asking this question of him. Sevurun hayu sheyakatz v'chayiv, because they thought it was a rude question, as if Rabbi Akiva was upset that he had been living for so long. How come you're living such a long life over here? And so the Gemara continues, Halak Yosef Aresha the Diklo. So then Rabbi Akiva went, and he went up and he sat on the top of a palm tree. Amar Lein, he said, Rebbe, my Rebbe, if Nemar Keves, Lama Nemar Echad, if it already says Keves, which is singular, why does the pasuk say Echad? We already know it's one. So Amar Lahu, so then Rabbi Nechunya Hagadol said to them, to his attendants, Tzorva Midrabanan, who obviously this person is a Torah scholar, Shavku, leave him alone, stop hitting him. And Amar Lein, he said to him, Echad, you know what it means, Keves Echad? It means Miyuchad Shebe'edra. When you're bringing the animal as a carbon, you should bring the most special one of the flock. And then Amar Lein, then he said to him, he finally explained to him how he merited to live a long life. He said, Miyamai, all of my life, Lo Kibalti Matanos, I never accepted gifts. V'lo Amadati Al Midosai, I was never strict about my Midos, I forgave people. And V'atrum B'mamoni Hoyisi, I was open-handed with my money. And the Gemara now explains, Lo Kibalti Mos, I never accepted gifts. Ki Had Rebbe Lozer, Ki Avim Meshadri Le Matanos Mi Bein Asiyah. It's like the story with Rebbe Lozer when they used to send him gifts from the house of the Nasi. Lo Avishakal, he wouldn't take it. Ki Avim Mezamni Le, when they invited him over for a meal, Lo Havazal, he didn't go to them for the meal. Amar Lui said to them, Lo nicha l'chu da'achia, don't you want me to live? Dechsiv, like the pasuk says, Sonei matanis yichya, it says a person who hates gifts is going to live. So that's how he would explain. He said again, Lo nicha l'chu da'achia, don't you want me to live? That's why I don't want to accept your gifts. Rabbi Zera, the Gemara continues, Rabbi Zera ki have a meshadri lemi bein asiyah. When Rabbi Zera would be sent gifts from the house of the Nasi, lo have a shakal, he also would not take the gifts. However, ki have a mezamni le'azal, when they would invite him over, then he would go for a meal. Why would he go for the meal? Amar, because he said to himself, Es yakuri de misyakri bi. They're actually getting honor from me in this situation. They want me at the meal. I'm actually going in order to honor them. V'lo amadati al midosai. So then he said also that I never was strict about my midos. I was forgiving. Diyamar Rav, as Rav says, Kol amavir al midosav ma'avir mimenu kol pshav. Somebody who forgives others, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives him of his sins. Shenema, like the pasuk says, no say avon v'over al pesha. Pasuk says that again, talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgiving sins. Lemi no say avon. Who does HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgive? Lemisha over al pesha, somebody who forgives others. And the Gemara continues, Shoal Rebbe as Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha. Rebbe asked Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha, Bameha rachta yamim, how did you merit to have such a long life? Amar le, so he said to him, similar to what happened with Rabbi Akiva, Katzta b'chayai, does it anger you that I've lived a long life? Does that make you upset? Amar lo, so he said to him, no, Rebbe Torah, v'lil marani tzarech. He said, my Rebbe, it's Torah that I want to learn. I want to learn the proper way to live. So Amar Lei, so he said to him, Miyamai lo nistakalti b'dmus adam rasha. My whole life I never looked at the face of a person who's wicked. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, as Rabbi Yochanan said, Asr lo adam leistakel b'tselem dmus adam rasha. It's forbidden for a person to look at the face of a person who's wicked. Shenamar, like the pasuk says, Lule pnei Yehoshaphat melech Yehuda aninose im abit elecha v'merecha. This pasuk is by Elisha. Elisha tells Yoram, if not for the fact that Yehoshaphat was here, I wouldn't even look at you. So you see that basic idea, not to look at a rasha. Rabbi Lazar says, Ein of chaos. Somebody who looks at a rasha, his eyes become weak. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Vayiki Zok and Yitzchak, Vatechena Ein of Meros. It says when Yitzchak was older, so his eyes became weak. And why did they become weak? Mishum destakel beis of a rasha, because he looked at Esav, who was wicked. You see the same idea. You look at somebody who's wicked, then your eyes are going to become weak. You'll go blind. The Gemara continues, V'ha garmale, but is this really what caused Yitzchak to go blind because he looked at Esav Arasha? V'yamar Rabbi Yitzchak, but Rabbi Yitzchak said, Li'olav al tikilas hedyot kala beinecha, you should never take the curse of a hedyot, of a simple person, you should never take it lightly. Shari Avimelech kila Sarah, because Avimelech cursed Sarah, Meneskayim Bezaran was fulfilled in her children, as we're going to see. His curse ended up that Yitzchak became blind. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Hinei ulach ksus einayim, it will be for you a covering of the eyes. Al tikrei ksus ala kasiyas einayim. Don't read it as a covering of the eyes, but read it as a blindness of the eyes, and that's exactly, that came true with Yitzchak. And so the Gemara answers, Hava HaGarmale, both of them were causes. In other words, the fact that he looked at Esav Arasha, and also the Kilas Hedyot, the curse of Avimelech, those combined, and that's why Yitzchak became blind. Rava Amar Rava says, Mehacha, from here, from the following pasuk, we learn that you shouldn't look at a Rasha. Pasuk says, Seis Pnei Rasha Lo Tov, it's not good to see the face of the wicked. B'shas Peti Rasa, now at the time that Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha was dying, Amar Lei, so Rebbe said to Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha, Rebbe Barcheni, my Rebbe, give me a bracha. Amar Lei said to him, Yehiratzon Shetagia Lechatzi Yamai. It should be the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you should live half the years of my life, half the time that I lived, that's what you should live. Well, Akulu lo, he shouldn't live the entire time, why didn't he give him a bracha, live as long as me? Amar lo, no, he said to him, Haboy macharecha behema yiru, those who follow you, do you want them to graze animals? In other words, Rebbe had a high position, Rebbe was the Nasi, and Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha was saying, if you live a very long life, your children will never inherit your position, they'll be grazing animals. Better that you shouldn't live such a long life like me, and that will allow your children to inherit your position. The Gemara continues along these same lines, Avua Barihi, Minyamin Barihi, there were statements by Avua Barihi and Minyamin Barihi. Chad Omar, one of them said, Teisi li, I should get credit, Delo estakli kusi. I never looked at a kusi. The Chadam and the other one said, Tesili, I should get credit to lo avdi shutfis bahade kusi. I never made a partnership with a kusi. And the Gemara continues, Shalu Talmida ves Rabbi Zera. The students asked Rabbi Zera, Bamehe rachta yomim. How did you merit to live a long life? Amar lahem, he said to them, Miyomai lo hikpadati b'soch beisi. All my life I never got angry in my house. V'lo tzo'adati b'fnei misha gadol mimeni. I never stepped in front of someone who was greater than me. V'lo hirharti b'mavos hametunafos. I never thought words of Torah in the dirty alleyways. V'lo halachti dalet amos below Torah v'lo tefillin. I didn't walk 4 amos without Torah and tefillin. V'lo yashanti bebeis hamedrash, and I never slept in the beis medrash. Lo shinas keva v'lo shinas arai, not a deep sleep and not just a nap. V'lo sasti b'takolas chavera, I never rejoiced when my friend stumbled. V'lo karasi lachavera b'chanichoso v'amri lo b'chachinoso, I never called my friend, either it means to say I never called him by a derogatory name, or I never called him by a nickname. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah of Yod Amar Rabbi Yehuda, and further Rabbi Yehuda says, Beis HaKnesses Shecharav, if you have a shul that was destroyed, Ein Maspidin B'soch, we don't use that for eulogies, Ve'ein Mafshilin B'soch Chavolim, and we don't stretch out and repair ropes over there, Ve'ein Porsin L'soch Mitzudos, we don't spread out traps, Ve'ein Shotchen Al Gago Peros, we don't spread out fruits on top of its roof, Ve'ein Osin Oso Kapendorian, we don't use it as a shortcut. Shenemar, like the Pasuk says, V'hashimosias Miktashechem, I'm going to destroy your Mikdash, meaning to say, Kiddushas, and they're still holy, Af Kishein Shom, and even when they're destroyed, there is still holiness. Alubo Asavim, now if grass grows over there, Lo Yislosh, you shouldn't pick off the grass, you shouldn't uproot it, Mimnei Agmas Nefesh, because we want people to see the grass, they should have Agmas Nefesh, they should be pained about the fact that this Beis HaKnesses was destroyed. And the Gemara says, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Bate Knasios, when it comes to shuls, Ein Noagin ben Kalas Rosh, you're not allowed to act lighthearted in shuls. Ein Ochlin ben, you can't eat in them. Vein Shosin ben, you can't drink in them. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chav Ches Amud Beis.